Hello. Good evening. Welcome. My name is Kwabena and welcome. I want to share today with you the second uh, part of the introductory review that I'm doing on perspective, the book that I did some time ago, about 2 years ago or so. And the subtitle is How to Develop the Mindset to Start and Build Your Business. And yesterday I did the first part, and today I am going through the second part of the introduction. And I think it was nice yesterday. So let's see what happens today. So I will read the subtitle is Entrepreneurship and the Importance of History. And my 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 thinking on history is that the for the past 300 years or 400 years or so, the people who have suffered a lot is the African race, is the black race. And just about the last 150 years, 200 years, that a lot of discoveries, a lot of innovation, a lot of scientific, revelations that all the world was having. Just around the same time, the Africans were being indentured, sold, you know, being chased through the bush and sent to all parts of the world. So a lot of destruction, has gone on the continent and even outside the continent. And for me, when people are asking what the Africans have done, a lot has to do with just the last 100, 200 years ago, how the whole world was moving, and a lot of theories have been written about how inferior and how we are not able to create and think. And the danger is not even the people who are describing us. The danger is our own selves. We ourselves have accepted that because we can only tell and we can only say what we've been taught and what we've been told. And if somebody did not go to school, his argument against the one that they have sent to school is a bit, maybe it's a very few people will be able to stand up and argue with the ones that they hold the PhD and all those things that they hold. And so, and if you look at it, the education has been structured. The African has been educated really very, very, very little knowledge about ourselves. And I dare say that you cannot create, you cannot build, you cannot take a lot of pressure if there is no self awareness, if there is no self identity. And most Africans, I dare say, have been grown to believe everybody but ourselves. We believe everybody, we believe the intelligence of everybody but ourselves. And I think that one of the factors that you would have to push, to raise a generation that accepts themselves and dare to try to innovate on what they have is when they are able to put a lot of things in perspective. And then part of it is history. You'll never meet any strong, great African who has done a lot to challenge the status quo, built out of nothing, who is weak in their identity. No, you will never see that. So if you're thinking of entrepreneurship, I think that history, if you're an African, is, some people may not need it because they've been pumped with some kind of arrogance and information about their race. So they think that they are okay, they have achieved everything. But the Africans are picking themselves up. And so for the later understanding that I have, you need a lot of buoyancy, a lot of strength to keep pushing yourself. And if you doubt that your intelligence, or you ask questions, what is wrong with Africans and weakness, those kind of things that people ask, if you continue to ask that, it means that your understanding is a bit weak, and you may want to educate yourself like that. So the subtitle is Entrepreneurship and the Importance of History. And what I had to say was that history well taught, or history well studied and taught, has a way of repairing the image of the African. And no matter what we teach people, if they believe that they are inferior, curse, or are lost in the culture and the image of others, they will live limited lives. That's why you can meet some African. He's been educated in all these universities around the world and still very much confused and frustrated about the realities of his own race, of his own people. And some of them even live in denial. That's, you don't live in denial. You just have to, wait, or you just have to take the responsibility and find the facts yourself. So we have to believe unequivocally that we are not inferior in our thinking and in our abilities. The fact that we are seeing a lot of challenges, the continent's president can be packed and go and meet one country's president. All those that do not mean that we are inferior. They are just the complexities of history and some things that we refuse to take lead. And that's why we are where we are. But intelligence has nothing to do with skin color. Intelligence has nothing to do with skin color. And for me, not even the adults, those who are yet to grow, those around 15, 16, 10, my child, or my children, those people should be educated well, because when they are full aware of the fact that they are not inferior, yes, because the history that they are going to be taught in all these schools will still go ahead to push them into self-doubt. And so the teaching of of African history beyond slavery and colonization is important in the development of entrepreneurship in Africa. When they continue to teach us, the reference point of history that they teach to most Africans around the world, most blacks, is just slavery and colonization. And for me, that's the weakest point. Nobody teaches you something about your heritage from the weakest point. And would assume that you end up to become somebody who can challenge the status quo. I don't think it's like that. History was just was a major event that happened, but that we cannot be described as Africans or as black people with that. So this history should date back, for me, this history should date back even 5,000 years or before. Many people don't even know that such information exists. If you didn't study history, and even the history that I have a friend who studied history in some of those universities, they still have a lot of questions as to why we are where we are, because those histories were taught for us to be controlled. So many people don't even know that there's a lot of information. There is the need for us to research on these epic facts of Africans as entrepreneurs. If we were not taught in our schools, we still think someone is responsible. That's why we are looking for help every time and don't see anything wrong with begging all the time. The business person with a vision should not follow this. You cannot be looking for, you should be able to innovate with what you have. You should be able to use what they call appropriate technology. And so entrepreneurship, for me, if your philosophy is right, if you believe that you can achieve something, if you believe that you are not disadvantaged because you're born in Africa or because you're black, things like that. If you're able to solve that, I think that anything that comes to your mind, you are ready to take it. But if you're here and you're frustrated with your continent, with your country, and you think that somebody else is responsible for the development, you're always looking for visa to move. That's a fact of life. And you always think of your self-interest. You will not make that decision to move into the problem and solve it, because your self-confidence may not have been built. So we have not even we have not trained, or we have not been trained to solve the problems of our environment, because there is no sense of pride of our heritage when it has to do with building businesses. The fact that you wear kente and wear those chow and things like that does not mean that the right form for me of history and culture is in the knowledge. It's not in the things, the regalia, those things that people wear. No, they wear those things and still go and beg little boy from somewhere to come and help them to sync KVIP. So the rare essence of this kind of history that I'm talking about is really the data. It's not just dancing and drumming. And I think that it has a part to play with being able to produce, being able to train and bring out a generation that will be able to build a continent with the entrepreneurship phenomenon. And so the lack of history in education is partly responsible for it. The other time I heard that they even make it option. It's an optional subject. That's dangerous. If you're a parent and you're not taught some of these things, you should teach. Because the only history that they're teaching your people is what? Is Einstein and all those things. And when it comes to us, it's drumming and dancing. You should be able to teach your children history beyond slavery and colonization. And go and look for the books yourself. At least you repair them yourself, and then they call them Pan-Africanism and stuff like that. It's not Pan-Africanism. I think that a lot of wrong messages, a lot of wrong data, a lot of books have been written, a lot of ideologies have been pushed on our race. And so most Africans, if you engage a lot of Africans on debate, you know, and it's deep. I had a heated argument at the other time with a whole PhD holder. And his whole question was that the only reason Africans are where we are is because we're Kessu, you know, because that's what that he has heard. And nobody taught him in school about this. And virtually we are not being taught like that. It's not, maybe once in a while there's a flash, but like a constructive subject with the intention to produce a people who will see themselves as qualified and as confident and as endowed as anybody else. And that the complexities of what we see today is not our creation, really, but you know, it's not because they don't reflect the fact that we are inferior. We are not inferior, you know. But you cannot do that by shallow thinking. You need a lot of information to repair this. So teaching history to engineers, doctors, teachers gives them a better perspective about the problems and makes them patriotic enough to look for solutions. I think so. I think so, because it repaired something in my mind when I started to research and read a lot about African history and about the world history, about our race, our achievement, our problems, and the things that we have gone through as a people. It repaired so much, you know, in terms of my worldview, in terms of my confidence, in terms of my pride, you know, of my race. Why? Because I started to find out the creators, the achievers, things that are people who came before us who look like me achieved that people have been trying to hide. So I am not a history teacher. I'm just telling you that it is important that you know that, because it repairs something, because you've been groomed with all kind of data, all kind of errors, especially when they compare us with the people who came to colonize us. You know, so it is important. I think that if an African, you need that. You need that sense of pride. You need that sense of heritage. Some people will say that, oh, you know, Jesus came to save us, so we don't need this. It's not true. Jesus himself was a Jewish and he was proud of it. Apostle Paul was a Jewish and was proud of it. There's nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage, of your physical look. It does not mean that you look down upon the others. It does not mean that you feel like others are inferior and you are better. I don't think so. I think there's a common humanity, but some people have tried to say that those people who who like us are not deep in thinking, have not achieved anything. And if you go through school, that's what they teach you. Actually, they are not saying it directly, but when it comes to creation, development, science, innovation, things like that, they don't give examples on us, you know. And so subconsciously you've been told that you people have not created anything and you have to look up to somebody all the time for creation, and yet those are not really the facts, you know. So the history I'm talking about is not about colonization and slavery, but acquiring the right information on Africa. It is imperative that we do this because we all have some form of information about who we are, but there are the kinds that they are the kinds that have made us victims. We feel like we are victims. Education is of little or no use if you cannot solve our immediate problems. The current system of education cannot solve this. The current system of education is not producing the people who can think critically and and look for solutions. That's what we have produced. The people who are always looking for help, and we are talking about entrepreneurship education. And entrepreneurship is, you know, people who are entrepreneurs are people who, one way or the other, look at life as they are not a victim and they can create something with whatever they have wherever they are, you know. And so that is the kind of mentality that you have to develop if you want to be an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur and you feel frustrated, it's because the data that you're processing may be maybe weak. You know, teaching what I call proper African history in all programs will help instill in us a sense of purpose, patriotism, and value for people, and can hold people in high standard by changing expectations. It's true. The history, the right one that you find out, not the one that they are teaching in the school. The right one that you find out about our innovators, our creators, about the people who fought before us, who, you know, like they try to say that, oh, our people were selling our own people. Those are just somebody's sense of history they have told you. There are a lot of our chiefs, a lot of our kinsmen who fought. Some of them even killed themselves because they did not want their people to be sold. So there are a lot of, if you hear one side of history and from the one who dominated you, you always feel like you are nothing. You are nothing. And so I would want the kind of history that will also tell me that we actually overcame some things. We fought and we're just not a weak people. And for me, that kind of heritage thinking builds some kind of confidence in you. And that is what you need to endure when it comes to achieving and thinking of business. So we will get to know what we have endured and have achieved that was not told us. There was a documentary the other time that I was watching about some I think people, some African Americans, young people, that they were saying that when they started to teach them about history and about the achievement, boys who were very much you could not control them, all of a sudden the heat, the anger in them started to come down because they started to hear the things about themselves that after all there were people before them who achieved something. So it's something that you need to teach the people. We are hardly taught about our heroes in science, technology, and innovations. Yet we want Africans to become innovators. The hero they create for you is what you become. The hero that they create for you on TV, in books, all this is what you become. If they paint all your heroes to be politicians, all the children will live up to be politicians. If they create all your heroes to be sportsmen, they will start to look for sports. If they create your heroes to be entertainers, that's what they start to become. If they create your heroes to be innovators, entrepreneurs, doctors, judges, they will start to think like that. So it's very much important what kind of hero that our people are creating for ourselves. And for me, if it is not in the books, you may have to find them yourself. So in the teaching of what we are seeing is in the teaching of slavery, colonization, African culture, traditions, and calling it African history. They teach our weak moments and leave the great ones. They teach our weak moments and leave the great ones. This has made us question our capability as a people. This causes us to believe we are incapable of handling our problems. So if you grew up without that little sense of history, you are packed especially about Africa, because some people don't even know that all the other races have had their own share of problems. They have been superstitious. They have gone through all the things that we are going through, and probably we have even endured much and maybe done even better than what we are made to believe. So if you don't know these things, you will think that you are ill-equipped. And some people would even they're shy. They are not proud. They are only proud when they are talking of their tribe, but not their race. So over the years, the image of Africa or blacks, the black race, has been mutilated, and it is true. If you watch all these major networks, some people even come out and argue it. I've seen something about people with that little sense of history, who have not taken the burden to re-educate themselves, about what we have done, what we have achieved as a race. They seem to agree with everything that the mainstream education, the mainstream institution, the mainstream things put on us. They seem to agree with that, and they never go to any step to even look for the things that we have done. We have done a little. So unfortunately, we have not put any structure in place to amend this. So our image has been mutilated. If you're watching CNN, you see all the nice things, but anytime that you see any bad thing, you see that they flash some black something somewhere. They've been, it could be maybe deliberate, I don't know, but they've been misinformed, and we have been misinformed. So our misunderstanding of leadership, consumer-based thinking, small and selfish thinking, bribery, and apathy all support the fact that we need to build strong mental structure for development. No one can do this for us. The development of a people, the mental structure, the mental development of a people is reflected in the physical. So when you go to any community, what you see is really what they think about. And so if you've been primed, we've been primed to just look ourselves as we need help. We need help all the time. We need help. So we are looking. That's why we import everything, because we are waiting for help. Some things that we can do ourselves. We have trained a lot of engineers. Some things that we can do ourselves, we're still waiting for somebody to help us, because you need some kind of pride to say that I've also achieved something. And sometimes you look around and it's not the norm now. It's not the mainstream thinking of the Africans. You can go to Ghana, Nigeria, you can go to anywhere. You come to Ghana, you see it. You go to Togo, you see it. You go to Kenya, it's there. So there is a lot. Error has been promulgated, and something that we use that as an alibi to cover our weaknesses and wickedness. I don't think so. The solution lies in the knowledge of who we are, our talents, passion, our purpose, willingness to stay with the dream to see them realized. We can repair and amend this image of a needy people at the individual level, since government or society as a whole may not be able to do this in our lifetime. It needs a whole structural governmental re-engineering of the thought of the people. And maybe the government may not be able to do it in our lifetime, but you can do it, I can do it. I've been able to read some books, understood, learned, and I have no doubt that I am not, I have no doubt. And at this point in my life, I never question that the Africans are inferior, never. I only think that there is some kind of data that we need to do better, but there's nothing wrong with us intrinsically, and that has been I've been able to repair that because I started to read and research. So subconsciously, okay, let me see. We continuously, see images of Africans portrayed in every one way in most media houses around the world. So subconsciously, we need a strong identity to be assertive and not feel limited. We will not be in a position to develop entrepreneurs who are skilled in leadership and character when we have not developed people to be courageous, well informed, and confident. And so, when your first premise, your skin color, you even doubt it, what else can you believe about yourself? When you think that because you are born in Ghana, you are inferior or you are disadvantaged. Because that's why we are all believing. That's why we have all been taught. That's why we look around, and it seems to make sense to a lot of people. You look at the realities, what they call realities, you see that yes, what they are saying makes sense. That does not really mean that you're inferior. It's not true. It's just data, and instead people have done. So history is important for me in repairing and growing a people who will be confident enough to become entrepreneurs think, because entrepreneurship is need just across everything. Any idea that you have that you want to bring it to benefit society in huge numbers, you will have to have an entrepreneur to be involved. You need somebody who can think in numbers, you can think in commerce, who has the strength to fight and to keep pushing. So let's continue. I'm doing a book review on a book on perspective that I wrote the other time, and it's the subtitle is how to develop the mindset to start and build your own business. And I think that we need a mental revolution as a people, as Africans. The rest of the world think in a particular way, and we also think in a particular way. And therefore, yes, we have endured a lot of pain, a lot of wrong things as a people, and we continue to go through a lot of pressure across board. But we have no excuse. Pressure is only able to overcome any group of people when they stop fighting, when they stop being in ignorance, when they start to push themselves and take their own destiny into your own hands, they can do more. So maybe the people, maybe you may be the one to do that. Maybe you may be the one to lead that. But nothing liberates the people more than light, and knowledge is light. And so the other person who felt like he had nothing, the moment he starts to get no revelation, no thinking, no knowledge, the same person starts to see that he can do a lot. And so my name is Kwabena. One of my joys is to see people look for knowledge to build themselves, especially not waiting for help from somebody, not waiting and believing that they can do something themselves. And it comes out of self-identity, comes out of courage, it comes out of knowledge, it comes out of confidence. And there are no people who need this thing more than our people, our continent. We need that kind of information. So the next one is where the world is going. It will take more effort to train the African entrepreneur in repairing this misconception of self-image and how our continent is viewed by others, by us, and the rest of the world. And we have different ways of doing things. Of course, we have different ways. Our culture. Hello, something. we have different ways of doing things. We operate in a different environment, and we with different business and governmental structure. Our culture still is a major thing. There are a lot of things that are good about culture, but there are also a lot of terrible, terrible things that we have to repair. Superstition. We should be able to let people say what is on their mind. We should be able to see people as valuable as any other, and class society where somebody thinks that is better or somebody is poor, therefore they cannot say what they have to say, or you waiting for somebody to come and help you. There are a lot of things, wasting a lot of time on funeral and drumming and dancing, when basic things we still have not been able. When you are importing everything, when you are importing all the medical things, or the construction things, you're importing clothes, you're importing books, you're importing everything. It means that we are not in charge, and we would have to at least think like a people who can create their own. So we have different way, and we operate in different environment. Our ways of doing things are different. That's why when you just import something from somewhere and you bring them to the country and you think that work is not, you have to look at the culture of the people and build the business infrastructure to fit in. If you go and import the one from Togo, from China, it may not work. If you just go directly and import the one from England, it may not work. So you have to understand the culture of the people. You have to understand how things are done. Then you can blend it with the so-called standard. So we can learn management systems from different environment, but we need to develop appropriate technology and techniques that suit the situation, that suit our situation. So, for instance, when you're building, let's say you're building a business, you have to understand how the people think. Because when you employ people, how they process information is very much important, because you are going to need people to build this business. And so when you just think that these people must think like me, no, they don't have to think like you. You just have to know this is the level of their thinking, and this is what I want. How do I get them to understand this? And what do they worry? How do they process their thoughts? You cannot just train them like another person for. And that's what beats a lot of people who live, even Africans who live somewhere and who come down to say that they want to start business. They get frustrated because they are trying to just bring something and impose on the people who may not want to, do things the way that you've been doing it in another country. So if you build a successful and prosperous continent, if we will build a successful and prosperous continent, it is entrepreneurs who will create jobs and build industries. Governments can do something, but the sustainable ones are the ones that entrepreneurs build. Why? Because government, really, nobody owns the things that they are building, not the ones that we see around. So when they change the party, another one will come and say that they want to do something. But when an entrepreneur builds his industry, is not going to let it go like that. And so the best that our government can do is to create an enabling environment necessary for businesses to flourish. That's the best. There could be interventions that governments will do, but rare jobs that continue to pay people well and for people to get where to, find a livelihood is really created by entrepreneurs. And they don't even have to create businesses that are employing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Somebody creates a business that is employing 500, 5 people, 4 people, 10 people. And if you have millions of them, which means that they have employed millions, So if you have 3,000 or 10,000 young people who have created businesses and each of them is employing 3 or 4 people, automatically you have created about, 30, 40, 50,000 jobs right away like that. And so it's not so much how many big businesses that you have created, but if you have them thinking like that, you can create a lot of opportunities and develop products and processes and create prosperity for our people. So this will require a generation that has been prepared to think differently. You cannot rely on the school that you went to think differently, because the course content, actually the professor who taught you, that was the course content they gave you. One thing about kind of education that we've been given is that the rate at which we change the course content and even require different answers to the same question based on the things that have changed in the economy is very slow. That rate is very slow. So we produce a people who almost do not necessarily think differently from the previous generation. Yet, if you're going to build a business, you must think, and you must be equipped with the right kind of data, the right kind of information. So, and so the business people who are going to help to develop our continent are those who are continuously developing themselves, keeping in mind where the world is heading in terms of future technology and business. You have to, we have to create the people who are thinking of the future as well. Africa will not be the next big thing if entrepreneurs are not thinking as such. If you are just thinking about the way we have a lot of our young people, we should be having a lot of our young people thinking about solutions, thinking about products, thinking about, solving. You look at waste, you look at agriculture, you look at food, you look at a lot of problems. Everywhere you look, you see that we need creators, we need thinkers, we need people who can provide solutions, entrepreneurship solutions. We need that. And none of it is too small. You may be creating, you may be thinking of going to manufacture pen or producing your own pen. It will solve something. If you're able to employ two, three, four, 5 people, it's a good thing. And if another person starts like that, if you can get a lot of these guys coming out of university to think like that, you solve a lot of problems. And it requires mental revolution. It requires mental revolution. So we have basic problems that need business solutions in housing, in food, clothing, health, etc. This calls for business minds that are thinking beyond our immediate needs. That's one of the things that you have to have. If you're thinking of business and if you're an entrepreneur, you are looking at pumping a lot of resources in about 10 years. That's where you start to see results. Anybody who does anything and keep, learning and pushing and not relaxing, if you push about 10 years in any idea, in any business, you may work. And as an entrepreneur, if the first business fails, go and find another one. And until you have crashed about 10 businesses, you have no excuse. You can't say that you have tried enough and it's not working. If you can keep at it for 10 years, and maybe the first business did not work, don't give up. The third one did not work. The sixth one did not work. If you can do that for 10 years, by all means, there will be some kind of solution. There will be some kind of breakthrough, as they call it. And so, if you have not pushed in a lot of years, a lot of resources, you cannot go and stand somewhere and say that you have tried and it did not work. You have not tried enough. If you have not tried enough, you will not get to see results. So, we should not be a consumer market for the rest of the world. Africa is like a dump. Everybody brings anything, and they come to take all the resources. And people have been, when we were children, they say that add value to something, add value, and they still continue to say it. Add value, add value. But I can see that the current government in Ghana, particularly, is doing something. I think it's a good thing. And if we continue to do that, we will produce a generation that will be able to at least create a force for the Chinese. We can add value to our products, goods, and services. And anything that you're doing, think of value. Think of value. Think of always adding something better than the others. Always be thinking of that. These are the things that you should be thinking of as an African youth. So the next one is long-term thinking and patience. Long-term thinking and patience. Starting a business does not just happen, or experiences parting us on the path of entrepreneurship or employment. Nobody just jumps up to say that I want to become an entrepreneur. There are things that happen in your life all along that will push you into that path. The part of business or the part of entrepreneur can be chaotic. Developing the idea, forming the team, providing the leadership, staying peaceful and strategic when things don't work out as initially planned, and sourcing for funds are all needful. There are a lot of problems that you're going to endure. You need to provide the leadership, you need to provide the plan, you need to look for the funds. Some things will not work out, but that's business. You're trying to find something, you're building something out of nothing, and it creates, every process creates some kind of heat, some kind of chaos, some kind of distraction. So when you are going through that, don't cry, don't weep. It's part of the process. So we started businesses in engineering, construction, fashion, retail, with no family business connections or political network or no capital or no business leadership skills. Yes, we tried to do something like that, been able to build some kind of business in construction and retail, and it's not that simple. And we've not looked for political help, or you don't even have one, and we just keep, falling forward. We just keep going, and all kind of things happen. But that's, for me, that's what I've come to realize, that it's not that smooth. That you just, if you're waiting for the best moment to start, you will never start. And if you're waiting for help somewhere, you may never. And all these things, when you go through the build, they increase your wisdom, they sharpen you, they make you intelligent. They make you buoyant. You're not in competition with anybody. You're just trying to find yourself out of your dream, out of your doing something, you know. And so you have to. So we started with our belief in God, and which is very much important. Believe in the supernatural, in the Almighty, uh, uh, puts a lot of confidence in you. And I think that is no more. That is not problem for a lot of Africans. We believe that God is. The only thing is that we've been waiting for that God to help us. And for the letter that I know, God is not helping anybody. You are the one. You have to make a step. He has made provision. That's why He gave you brains. He has made laws and applications. He has made a lot of things that are working. I think He's somewhere busy, and He's not the one going to build your business for you. You must be the one building that business. And if you make effort, that just as you plant the seed, and He will pour water on it, and it's a system that He has set in place. If you don't need anybody to be giving you some kind of prophecy or something like that before you move anywhere. Just try something to work. I don't think you should live your life waiting for another man's statement, another man's words, another man's prophecy before you take a move. You should be, if it's about entrepreneurship, you need a lot of confidence. So if you're waiting, if you're not an entrepreneur, you're not a business person. When you're waiting for somebody to give you direction all the time, somebody, especially when they are using God and supernatural and Christianity and religion to control, you become useless. You don't even have the confidence to make your own decision. You cannot be a business person like that. So you have to come to a point where you believe in yourself. You believe that you can also make the right decision and keep pushing, and never be controlled by fear of the unknown, and fear that they come, fear of failure, fear of mistakes, fear of error, fear of not succeeding, fear of death, and all those things that people continue to control people with. If you're going to do business, you must come to that point to say that I have what it takes to build that business. I have what it takes to do this business. You need that kind of level of thinking. You have to believe in your own judgment, and you have to know that if it's not working, it's not any demon. It means that there's not much that you know, and you have to keep yourself and keep pressing. Don't be waiting for miracles and all those things. Keep working. It works, because people have built billion-dollar businesses without waiting for those things. Okay, so when people are just trying to control you, all kind of people are now, they all become priests and prophets and everywhere, and people are wasting a lot of time going to meet such people. Listen, the whole world is moving. It's only Africa who's still waiting for some kind of prophet for direction. You don't need any prophet for direction. What you need is your belief in the divine, in the divinity, in the God that you think you serve, and believe in yourself. You believe in God, you believe in yourself, and then you make a move. You take a move. Don't be wasting a lot of time waiting for another man to help you, or waiting for some prophecy somewhere. Somebody has to tell you to go and fast for 10 days before you move. If it's a business, go and try it. People are succeeding everywhere. Because you'll be controlled by that. They will control you. And if all those people who are talking now were right, why are they not prophesying for Africa to develop? Why we delay? Why? Because a lot of those things are not true. What develops is the systems that the man who created the earth set in place, the structure, the laws. If you happen to find those laws and work with them, diligence, goal setting, hard work, character, honesty, patience, those things they work. Innovation, thinking, planning, working together, providing leadership. Those things they work. Those are the forces that create anything, and they create business as well. So but when you are the one who always believe, you believe that somebody somewhere must pray for you every time before you make a move, you waste your time, and you are not meant to be an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur must have some level of self-belief. You believe in God, you believe in yourself, and you are ready to try. And if you fail, you try again. If you fail, you try again. And if it's not working, don't go and wait and weep and cry and go and look for a demon somewhere. There is no demon somewhere. It's workable. It is workable. And that's the kind of thinking that you need. And if you are religious, we want to see your religion in your honesty. We want to see your religion in your kindness, in your patience. Those are the things. In your love, in your compassion. For me, and if you say that you're Christian, that's what we want to see. It's not you casting demon and waiting and killing somebody somewhere and praying for enemy. Those are all just selfish moves. That really is not what the master came to teach us. So don't wait for any superstitious answer to the business that you're building. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving, and it will work. And that's what is happening around the world. Okay, so sometimes when they say that, some countries are against Christianity and they don't want the Bible, it's not true. Nobody's against love. Nobody's against compassion. Nobody's against people who are faithful. Nobody. Everybody wants those kind of people. But if you go there and you pack the people in the church and you're just clapping, and they are not working, that like what we are doing here, that's what we should be against. The hours that people should be working, they are somewhere praying for God to come and help them. And it's not working. Can't we see it? We have seen it for the last 40 years. Praying, and people are building factories everywhere, and we're still praying because something fundamentally misunderstood by us. So we were not, so what we started with our belief, with our belief in God, with our belief in ourselves, and with our belief in our continent. We believe that this continent is blessed. We believe that this continent is endowed, and we believe that we are fortunate to be here. We don't curse ourselves because we were born here. I never do that. You cannot succeed in an area that you think that you were not meant to be. That's why you're looking for. No, if you're born here, there was a reason for it. And so I don't worry myself about is Ghana going to work? Why was I born here? Yes, some things may just seem like that, but no, that belief in yourself, but that belief in God, that belief in the country that you were born in, and being patriotic and being so much passionate about the prospects of your country, of your continent, for me, will separate you. You'll be on the path of success, of succeeding in your business, because you see any top entrepreneur, they believe so much in their country. Look at them. Look for everywhere. Look at the Americans or everywhere. They believe so much with the opportunities that their countries have given them. So you need that if you're going to succeed here. You need that belief in yourself as well. That's why we talk about the history. And you need that belief in divinity, because I believe that there's some life somewhere, and we didn't just happen to be here, and God is real, and I believe that. And if you believe in God, we will see His character so much in you. So we were not sure of what we were doing, but we kept going in the middle of difficulties, oppositions, and mistake. And so that's what you have to do. You have to resolve. We have resolved not to give up. We don't give up. Don't give up on your dream to build that, to live your life building something. And so we are still moving forward, and I dare say this is the category that most of our graduates find themselves, and that's true. The most of our graduates are not the ones who fathers are presidents and lawyers and doctors. Most of us are coming from not so well endowed families. Most people are just the first graduate or the second one. And the father is not that rich, the mother is not that rich. He's pushing himself, he's completed the school, he's looking for a job, he's not finding it, and he doesn't know what to do. Most people find themselves in that. That's why they're looking for visa to travel somewhere. They are desperate, they don't believe in here, they have given up. They think that it's waste of time being here. If you come to that point, it means that your data is not good. And for me, that is where I think that I don't side with those people who think like that. I think that if you have the right data running, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. The only reason you are desperate and you are hopeless is because the data that you have is not working. It's not true. So I dare say, so we need to help people with so little to start today to think differently and independently. Business could be, maybe sometimes business entrepreneurship could be the only option for you. You have tried to find a job for 5 years, you're not finding it. You may want to help yourself by starting one. So if you're going to develop the mindset to start businesses, we have to think differently about problems, especially the basic human problems that we face in our country. You have to have the vision to solve those that get our attention. I think that you are not meant to solve every problem, but the one that you have the gift, the training, the expertise, try to do something about it. And usually you try to do something about it by building a business or starting something. So the ones that we have the skill set, not every problem that you have the skill set to solve, but the ones that get your attention, the one that you're passionate about, the one that you can build a business around it, build it. You'll be shocked what it will take you. So you have to see problems as opportunities and not run away from them. Never see any problem as a problem so much. You see a problem as an opportunity. If you think like that, you are an entrepreneur. You are looking at it. You are not giving up. You are not becoming frustrated and despondent. You are not the one thinking like, oh, I want to give up. I want to give up on myself. No, no. So we need to understand that there is a mindset and skill set for entrepreneurs. There's a mindset, and you have to be tough. You have to be crazy. You have to be mad. You're not looking for sympathy. You have to be that kind of person. You are ready to learn and to learn everything to build that business and to build that dream. You are ready to learn about people, about money, about the culture, about the people. You're thinking of the future. That is how you create that. And so nobody for me is disadvantaged. You just need the right information. And the moment you have that right information, nothing can stop you. That one I can testify to that. And until you have done 10 years of trying, you have not done enough. Patiently, we have to learn how to develop the ability to build and lead a team. That's one of the most complex things. Your ability to lead people from this culture who I'm sorry to say, are very much happy with little and very much knowing in the ignorance that they have and can be mistrustful. All kind of things that you can describe human beings, we can have them. Yet you cannot do everything yourself. You need people. So your ability to connect and to identify who somebody can work with me, but they may not be able to work with you. Somebody can work with you, but may not be able to work with you. Your ability to have that skill to identify who can connect with the vision and have the patience to train those people, to become part of the dream is a separator. It's a separator. Whether you're going to succeed or you're going to fail, it has a lot to do with the people you're able to pick and connect and train. The energy, the effort that they put in building a business is going to show whether you are going to succeed or you're going to fail. So we have to understand that building a business is not the quickest way to get money. That's what people should know. A lot of people just rush every decision that they make. When they hear that, oh, this person, when you put money there, they multiply it every month for you. They'll just go because the financial knowledge for most people is weak. So it doesn't matter their profession in society. It could be anything, bankers, lawyers, politicians, every one of them. When they hear that somebody has the ability to make money, they multiply their money, they will just send their money there. They don't think twice. Business is not like that. Business is not the quickest way to get money, but it's the shortest way to build one. So you have to be patient. In the long term, the business will explode. In the long term, you may become a very prominent citizen because you gave it a shot. In the long term, you may be able to build wealth and fight poverty, because if you want another person to be poor, not you. We have had enough broke and poor people. I think the ones that we have to wish for now is enough rich people, billionaires, not the poor. So I don't wish anybody to be poor. I desire that a lot of people will become rich, because the only people who can do more for the society is not the poor. If you want somebody to solve the medical problems that we have, or build hospitals for us, build schools for us, support science research, put a lot of children to school, build roads and hospitals, it's not the poor. The people who can do that are the rich. So that's why we want people to be rich. I am absolutely for it. If you want people to create businesses, create wealth, create empires, build hostels and houses, give cars to people, build industries, it cannot be the poor. So we are not looking for the poor. We have enough. We want people to be rich and be selfless to at least contribute to their success. So constant learning will eventually pay off in our bid to creating jobs and solving problems if you don't give up. Constant learning. As an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, it's constant learning. If you want to be in business, it's constant learning. You cannot be choked. You cannot be a closed-minded person. You don't want any information in data. You don't want to learn anything. That is dangerous for you. You are always ready to learn. You create an atmosphere of learning. You're buying books, you're watching video, you're watching audio. You are always constantly ready to learn. That is what will build you, separate you from the others. Last year and what this year, what you know should be different. Because you're constantly learning, becoming better, because you cannot do what you don't know. So you cannot just say that, oh, I want that company business, so we got 20 million. And so that's it. You go back to your village and you build all their houses, buy nice cars, and they want to give you second wife, third wife, and you think that you have arrived. That's naivety. You are constantly learning to become better. Constantly. So I'm coming to close on the introduction. I have attempted to share my thoughts on how we can develop this entrepreneurship mindset. And your perspective is your reality. When people are talking of opinion, enjoy the read. When people are talking of opinion, it's not just opinion, no. It's really your reality. Your opinion is what you are living with. So my perspective of life is really my life. My world is how I think. Your world is what you think about all the time. And those are the things that are responsible for the results that you get. So if you've been struggling like that, it means that your thinking will have to be upgraded, would have to be upped, because other than that, life is a pain. Life is a pain. So your reality, if it's not good, change it. And your perspective is really your reality. What you think about, what you process, the things that get your attention. Let's say you're unemployed, you're at home, and yet when you get a little time, you're watching your fight football. That is your reality. And it's your perspective. You think that you don't have to struggle so much to push yourself. Life. You cannot harvest somebody's investment. What you have in your life is what you have invested in your life. Don't wait for magic. Don't even wait for God. He's actually waiting for you. He's actually waiting for you. So the perspective of life is really you. It's really you. And nothing kills a man more than his thinking, his mindset, how he sees the world, how he behaves, how he thinks, how he does his things, what he has developed himself with. That is what is responsible. The culture that he has created for himself is responsible for his lifestyle, his joy, his prosperity, his poverty, or whatever that you are enjoying, whether it's the family or the business or life in general. It's because of how you think about the things that you think about, your mindset, perspective. And those are your reality. So thank you very much for watching this space. And we are doing a book review on perspective, and I think it's a good book. If you are thinking of starting a business, setting your goals, doing something for yourself, it is a good book, and you may want to look for one and read it, very small one. And so we have done the introduction, and from tomorrow we'll be looking at chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what I am doing. So thank you very much for taking your time.